The Fed met earlier this week to raise the Fed rate yet again. Let's talk about that and more in this week's segment of Market Watch. Hi everyone, it's Joshua Barks, Associate Broker with Keller Williams Realty Boise and Team Lead of the Barks & Co. Real Estate Team. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's segment of Market Watch. If you're new to the channel, we talk about the Boise area housing market on a regular basis, and then once a month we go into a deep dive into the market dynamics. Last week was our deep dive, so be sure to check that out if that's interesting to you and you missed it. The link to that's going to be in the description below. We also put together an email report with these numbers on a regular basis and send that out about once a week. And so the sign up for that's also in the description below if that's something that's interesting to you. So without further ado, let's get into the numbers and what's going on in the market. I think the biggest headline this week is that the Fed met for their last time in 2022 and raised the Fed rate by 0.5 percentage point, which is lower than the last 4 meetings that the Fed had. So the last 4 times they rose the Fed rate by 0.75 percentage point. This week only by 0.5 percentage point. And they have come out and said that inflation numbers are better, not where they want it to be, but better. And we're seeing employment numbers rise. So unemployment is going up, which is a good thing for them. That's what they want to see, is the economic slowdown. We want to see that red hot economy slow down. So they want to see unemployment go up and they want to see our economic growth shrink. And they haven't seen that quite as much as they want to yet. So they're going to continue to raise the Fed rate. That's basically in a nutshell what they said. So the next few meetings that they have on the books, they have already indicated that they're planning on raising the Fed rate. But the good news is they're probably not going to be raising the Fed rate by more than that 0.5 percentage point that we saw this last week. And the markets have responded in kind. Mortgage rates remained fairly stable this week. We are at 6.31% for the 30-year fixed right now. Last week we were at 6.33%. And, several weeks ago we were over 7%. So good news is interest rates for mortgages have trended downward. Now, the Fed has indicated they're going to continue to raise rates and they're not going to be reducing the Fed rate anytime soon. They want to see clear evidence that the economy is slowing down and that inflation is where they want it to be and that unemployment is headed in the direction and at where they want those numbers to be before they act on reducing the Fed rate. Because previous times in history's past, they have reduced the Fed rate prematurely and it has sent us into economic spiral because they reduced it and then they reduced it too early and then they needed to catch up by raising it drastically and then that caused a lot of chaos. And so they're hoping to avoid that this time around. Now, what we have going on in our local market here is inventory continued to decline this week. No surprises there. We usually see our lowest inventory months this time of year, or lowest inventory month in December, January. So right now we have less than 1,000 available homes in Ada County. And that's the first time we've been under 1,000 since May. So that's pretty exciting. I do anticipate that inventory will continue to decline through the end of the year. But as soon as we get over the holiday season and kick off January, I anticipate that we're going to see a rise in inventory. We'll see a small bump in inventory coming off the market as, listings expire and whatnot, because for some reason most agents choose to have their listings expire on the 31st of December, and then they have to start over again in January. So I do think we're going to see inventory come down before it comes up. But overall, I think we're going to see inventory continue to come up. Or not continue to come up, but rise after the holidays. Because spring in real estate starts right after the holidays. Pretty much early February is what we generally see, but the last couple of years, it's been January. As early as, the first week of January, we see a huge uptick in activity. Now, demand on the flip side of inventory is remaining pretty stable, but is still super low, especially compared to the amount of available homes that we have. We have like 350 homes pending right now, whereas, almost 1,000 available. So basically 3 times fewer available homes pending than what we have available. So for every, one home, for every 3 homes, there's 1 buyer potentially out there. So that I don't anticipate changing through the rest of the year. Now, again, after the holiday season, when people kind of put on there, this is my goal for the year, let's get things moving again, then we generally see an uptick in activity. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because right now is a phenomenal time to be a first-time buyer or an investor, because there are ample opportunities on the market, especially in that entry-level segment, which we have not had in literally years. So under 400,000, if that's your budget, there are options for you and they're not all bad. In addition to that, sellers are willing to offer more things. So you're able to have a higher negotiating power than you've had. So if you're a first-time buyer or even like a VA buyer, somebody that needs or wants to get your closing costs paid for by the seller as part of the negotiations, now's a great time to get that happening, because sellers are strongly considering those offers and accepting them, because you might even be able to get closing costs paid for. You could maybe get your interest rate brought down to be a lower monthly payment for you. You can get less than asking price as well for the first time in several years. So now is just kind of a culmination of really good things to be a buyer, because there's less competition, so more opportunity. When you're looking into this coming spring, now, I don't exactly know what's going to happen, but generally speaking, we see more competition for buyers in the spring and more inventory. So there might be more available, but there's going to be more buyers out there. So you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons of waiting depending on what your situation is, because spring might still be a great time to be a buyer, because we might be in a similar market situation to what we're seeing right now. I don't think anybody knows. Nobody has that crystal ball that knows exactly what's going to happen. But I do think we'll see inventory rise a little bit and demand rise as we get into the spring months. By how much? I don't think it'll be a crazy spring like we've experienced even the years prior to the pandemic. So this spring will be one to watch. If you have any questions and you're thinking about making a move, please reach out to the real estate professional that you trust so that they can go over what's happening in your local area and really explain to you how your situation fits into the market as a whole, because it is a very individual matter. For me personally, I think it's a fantastic time to be a first-time buyer, maybe even somebody that's downsizing, and of course investors, because you would just have less competition and more opportunities to get that deal that people want out there. And right now on the market, the sellers that are on the market available for sale are serious, because nobody wants to really move in the wintertime. So unless they need to. So sellers that are on the market today, they might need to get their homes sold compared to in the spring, when we see some sellers go, I'm going to try in the spring, and if it doesn't work, I'll take my house off the market. Because we do generally see that every year. A handful of homes come on that, they're just trying to see what's going to happen. Can I get this number? And if it doesn't work out, they just don't move. But in the wintertime, people don't do that. They don't go, let's throw my house on the market in the wintertime, and I'll deal with showings while I'm dealing with house guests and making sure the house is ready for the holidays and all of that other stuff. No, the people that are on the market for sale right now are serious. So it's a good time to jump in and get those deals as a buyer. That's pretty much what I have for you. This is our last update for 2022. The next one's going to be after the new year. So I hope everyone has a fantastic holiday season. And we'll see you in the new year. Thanks so much.